Hey everyone, welcome to today's edition of One Single Story. It's May the 2nd, day 122, and today you got a reprieve. You did not get a complete pass on reading, but if 3 verses were too much for you, you've been struggling this year. That's all I got to say. So the entire reading for the entire day. So we have had the privilege to pick and choose some things. And usually there's 5 or 6 passages we can choose from. There's different things. Sometimes it's a little more complicated. Today, this is it. 3 verses or nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it's the importance of the topic that they singled it out. I'm not sure. Maybe they're just wanted to give everybody a break, and this was an easy way to do it. But Psalm 133 is our reading today, and I'll just read the entire reading for today here on the this. It says, "How wonderful and pleasant it is when brothers live together in harmony. For harmony is as precious as the anointing oil that was poured over Aaron's head and ran down his beard onto the border of his robe. Harmony is as refreshing as the dew from Mount Hermon that falls on the mountains of Zion. And there the Lord has pronounced his blessing, even life everlasting." So the word harmony, some translations would use the word unity. It says how wonderful, it begins with saying how wonderful and pleasant it is when brothers live together in harmony or unity. Why is unity and harmony both wonderful and pleasant? What makes it wonderful and pleasant?
The thing I thought of first was family life, and if you've been in a situation where you felt like it was tumultuous or just unrest in your family, especially your immediate one, especially after you have kids, I mean, I just, there's such a huge difference. You can feel it. You can feel the peace and the weight lifted off of you, and everybody
Right.
is just in harmony with each other.
Yeah. When I think of the word harmony, I think of music, of course. And a solo is always nice, but when you have harmonies, like when you're in like a big room with like a huge choir and there's all these harmonies, it's a beautiful thing when everyone works together. And when we do work together, when there's unity, when there's harmony, we can get so much more done. The quality of our work can be better. And so, yes, like there is some niceness of just doing things alone. But when there is unity, when there's harmony, when things all come together, they don't clash. You know, it is really an incredible thing, and I love it.
Yeah, so the harmony illustration is a good illustration, you know. So in music, you can have multiple notes make up a chord, which is what we would call harmony, you know. So C, E, G go together, you know. And there are things you can add to that you can layer that change that. You know, if you make that E and F, you suddenly have a suspended note that eventually has to be resolved. You know, if you leave it there, there's this tension present. You know, it's not that it's disharmony. It's just for it to be right, for you to you know, at the end of a song, if you don't resolve that, you don't feel like the song's over. You feel like something's coming next. In sad music, or that's how I would describe it. You know, maybe Middle Eastern music. There are a lot of minor notes, minor chords that get played, and it's difficult to the ear. You know, sometimes it's not pleasant to listen to, but it's almost it's like morning music. I don't mean in the morning. I mean when you're morning music is. And in the context of relationships, the worst thing that you can have is somebody who is off pitch. You know, that's because that takes all the harmony out. You know, but too often we view unity or harmony as everybody's got to be alike. We think unity. The reason why I like them using the word harmony here is because I think harmony is a better illustration of unity than unison. We think, usually when we think unity, we think unison, that everybody's alike, everybody thinks alike. But the beauty of unity is that everybody's different, but they function in something that is harmonious. When you watch it, you see how it works together well, and you can see this in business or organizations. So on our staff, when everybody does their job and is hitting their notes, everything works much smoother. If we all had the same gifts and tried to do exactly the same thing and thought the same way, I mean, that could be really dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think good harmony is a beautiful thing. Disharmony is painful to listen to.
I think it's everybody understanding what their part is to work toward the same goal. You have the same end in mind. Everybody's doing what they have to do to get there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So he describes unity and harmony as affecting everything. So it talks about harmony is precious as the anointing oil that was poured down over Aaron's head and ran down his beard and onto the border of his robe. So, this is a practice I am thankful we don't have today. Everybody's walking around stinking like olive oil, because olive oil isn't the most pleasing aroma to me.
Yeah, and it's very viscous too. It's like it's hard to get off. Like, I just want to pour it on.
And when it gets rancid, it's horrible.
Oof.
But and then you're walking outside and mayflies are sticking to your head. I don't know. That's crazy how you think about things. But anyway, this picture that it poured on his head, ran down his beard, eventually got to the hem of his garment. The tassels on his robe. It affected everything about him, and it talks of the comparison is harmony and unity affect everything in our life. And maybe it's easier for us to talk about how disharmony affects everything in our life. Or maybe we want to do both. But how do you see harmony or unity affecting everything?
I'll give you even a small example. Getting the right amount of sleep. Like that can change your entire day. It can change your whole week. And there's a little thing that if I get less sleep, it's like, well, maybe I get less sleep and I get more work done. But when you do that, that can impact everything. Even though it's maybe like one, using the example of harmony, one bad note. Well, what's one bad note going to do? But it does change the whole melody. It changes it. The harmony is now not fully in sync, and so just that alone can impact other things throughout the week or throughout the next day. And so just with that, when we get the right amount of sleep, when you wake up on time, when things are just going well at work, things are going well at home, when all those things are working together in harmony, it's a beautiful thing. You get more done. And so yeah, I think it does. It impacts your mood. It impacts your home life. So yeah, having harmony amongst everything. Even the little things that we might not think about as much is vital.
Sheryl, how do you see harmony or unity affecting everything?
I think because it gives you a more peaceful state of mind. I can think of an example being on Sunday mornings here. You were talking about all of us doing our jobs, and I think about the kids department, especially because it takes 22 to 24 volunteers every Sunday morning to make it happen, and
every service.
Well, between the two, yeah. And it just takes one person missing, or something going wrong, or a behavioral problem, somebody having unexpected illness or something coming up, and then it's like a clock. One of the gears has come out, and you have to figure out how to fix it, but it affects everybody else there in one way or another, because at that point somebody's going to have to do someone else's job, or I'm going to do it, and then the other people won't get what they need from me all morning long.
Right.
It's not that it can't function, but it's certainly not going to be as smooth or as harmonious.
Yeah, I tell people, I could give a couple of illustrations. I think you could injure your foot or your ear or your hand, and lots of things can continue. Mm-hmm. But when your back hurts, it makes everything miserable, because you can't sit, you can't stand, if your back really is hurt. I'll see people from time to time have issues in their family, disharmony. And it affects their ability to work. You know, it affects their ability to how they're going to manage their money. You know, it affects how they get along with people in general relationships. It affects how they parent. You know, so disharmony in a single place can create disharmony in other places because, you know, let's use children for an example. You know. I joked on you a couple of weeks ago, like you must have been having a time because like 4 times while I was preaching, you came in the auditorium. I was like, man,
So
they are having a bad day.
Principal that day.
Yeah. You were looking for parents, you know, but you know the interesting thing is, so I'm preaching, I see it, you know, and so I'm conscious like, golly, I hate they're having a bad day back in the back, you know. So
is she gonna quit today?
right. And I'm having.
And I'm thinking, are the volunteers gonna quit today?
and I'm having to deliver the message. So all of this is going on, and people don't realize
That's
it,
right.
you know. But in my mind, you know, I'm thinking about it, and this past, well, as we're recording this, it would have been this past week. You know, there were multiple things. I had a difficult time preaching in one of the services. I talked to my doctor later that night and kind of gave me the once over, and some of the things he said to me, he's been saying to me forever, you know, but, you know, some of the things, there were 3 or 4 things that probably led up to it. It had been a really, really busy week, so I guard my mornings. So we record these in the mornings. This is one of the few mornings that I give up for anything. You know, I guard my mornings. But that week, every morning had been filled with something. Every morning, every afternoon, every night. I hadn't eaten before I, you know, came to church to preach that morning. And there had been some things laid on my plate that I had nothing to do about. They just decided to show up at my desk, you know, and completely unrelated to me, frankly unrelated to the church. It's just like, here, you know, you seem like the person to be able to deal with this. And all of those things together created almost a perfect storm, you know. So when you have disunity or lack of harmony in some other places, it's interesting how it shows up, you know, how you speak to your kids, how you speak to your wife, you know what's going on in your life. So unity has broad ranging effects, and often we don't realize it until it's too late.
Yeah.
So he goes on and says that harmony is as refreshing as the dew from Mount Hermon. When you're around people that you feel like are in sync, is it refreshing to you? And when you're around people who aren't in sync, is it draining?
Yes.
Yeah.
And tell me how you experience it.
I feel like to be in a situation that is harmonious, or to see a relationship that's harmonious, you have to process the fact that both people are giving up things in order to choose harmony instead. You know, you choose not to be right about things. You choose to give up things you're doing with your time because you're going to do something that the other person wants to do. I think we have to recognize the sacrifices, and I think that especially that part of harmony is a beautiful thing that is refreshing, because you see the benefit of the unity as opposed to the benefit of the individual getting what they want at the moment.
Yeah. I guess like an example I can think of is when I have like a team of people all working together and one person comes in, they're just not in the right mindset. Like when I was at Caleb, as an example, I would be like in charge of volunteers and I'd be recruiting them and I'd have them come. And if one volunteer, like someone had just passed away or something terrible had happened in their life, they're not in it, you know, they're out of it, and we're supposed to be praying with people and talking with people, and when they are just down, it is like that one bad note. And so I just tell them, go home, like it's okay, like don't feel that you have to be here, because I'd much rather take away a note than have just a bad note, you know. And so they understand. It's perfectly fine.
2-part harmony is better than 3-part disharmony.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so that's the thing is I want people like, and that's the same thing for the small group leaders. I've told them that too. Is like if there's something going on in your life or there's something that like that you can't be here, like, or there, I don't want you to be here if you can't really be here. If you can't fully be here. And so, and they understand it's not a diss on them. It's just I want there to be harmony. I want things to go well. And when there is harmony, it's like taking a breath of fresh air. It's like that first breath of fresh air when you go out in the morning. It's like, this is great. It's all going well, and I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, most of the times I've heard this passage taken in context or taken as a text, it's been directed toward church unity. And I may be cursing myself.
Uh-oh.
Don't say it out loud.
There are certain things you say
I may be cursing
gosh,
myself.
like, you know, it's like, I know I shouldn't say this on the podcast.
No.
Like, what is he going to say? Like, what?
But
No.
so I've been the lead pastor here for 12 years now. We haven't been absent from difficult circumstances and challenging situations. They're present. We haven't been absent of disagreement. You know, should we or shouldn't we do things? But I can't think of a time that I would have described where the church didn't operate in harmony, where there was disunity. You know, I've seen some churches, painful. I mean, fighting, you know, splitting, people leaving, 30-40% of the people leaving, and then they grow back, and 30 or 40 more percent of the people leaving. And I'll be honest with you, having spent my entire life around church, it is the thing that I, as a pastor, am most thankful for. That we don't always have to see eye to eye, and we don't always get what we want, but for the most part, we all are able to get on the same page and move forward, the entire church. And if you've ever been in a church where there was disunity, disharmony, you know, you have to appreciate the refreshingness of it, you know, when you're able to walk in it. And that doesn't mean we're perfect. We're long from perfect, but some people have to give up some things, you know, some people have to pick up an extra load, you know, you have to change directions. You have to do things you didn't expect to do, but it's a beautiful thing. And so in the context of church, you know, we're blessed. The three of us are blessed. Yeah. The four of us in this room, we're blessed to be at this place, to be able to, because we could be other places where it was turf wars and silos and political infighting and church bosses and people, you know.
I mean, most importantly, I think it makes your church more effective at what your job is, you know, to be for each other and for your community.
And ultimately,
you know, you're not having to stop and focus on putting out all these fires all the time.
Ultimately, God gets glorified better when there is unity. You know, people can see Him better when we get out of the way. Because when there's disunity in anybody, it's usually because somebody's being selfish. Yeah. And it's got to be about them.
And it makes people want to be part of that, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
And one thing I find here, too, compared to other churches I've been at, is that I've been at churches where there's been disharmony. And I've been at churches with a very loud melody, you know, like, where everyone's very much, you know, it's like, but here you get people coming from all different backgrounds, you know, whether they grew up Catholic, but now they're coming here, or Presbyterian, or Pentecostal, whatever it may be, and they all bring their own strengths, they all bring their own thoughts, and there is a harmony here that I've just never experienced before. It's really,
and you don't hear one single drum getting beat too loud.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, or tambourine.
Oh, yeah, sometimes a tambourine, never a drum. Yeah, but it's never like there's never been any hostility, you know. Right. It's always been, we just all want to grow closer to Christ, and that's a beautiful thing.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I would agree. Well, good. Let's close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the beauty of unity. Thank you for the beauty of harmony. Thank you that it is music to our ears, and it is refreshing to our soul. Thank you that we can walk in it, experience it, understand it, know it. I pray, God, that you would give us a heart to have harmony and unity in our homes, in our relationships, in our organizations, our churches, our businesses, wherever we work. Help us to desire to live at peace, to desire to have the unity and harmony, and understand that it has long-range effects on lots of other people. In Jesus' name.